Hey everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and
Devin LaVore coming at ya.
And again, we'd like to say just a huge thank you for those who continue to support us. And if you would like to support us, we do have a PayPal link below, and you can just click on that. And again, it is just such a blessing to us.
It's huge.
I don't know. I love seeing how God just always moves, and so it's truly amazing.
Yeah.
And again, a huge welcome to those of you who are new to this channel, and we just pray that this is a blessing and an encouragement for you along your journey and what God has and is doing in your own life. As
God has us under the microscope.
Yeah.
It's like God has us under the microscope with a camera attached.
Yeah.
You know? And you guys get to see bits and pieces.
Yeah, and so, we just pray that this, that is really just mostly what this whole channel is about, is just we want to bring encouragement.
Yeah.
And just as we go along our journey, that is an encouragement for you to continue to press forward on the journey that God has for you.
To continue to believe.
Yes.
And see the glory of God in your life.
Yes. So you want to get started?
Do you want me to start? Okay, yeah. Well, we wanted this video to be kind of like, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit of our story, or maybe a lot of bit of our story. But we wanted to encourage you guys. We wanted to encourage as many people as we can, really, with this word. And that is that God leads you. He leads you.
Yeah.
It's him that leads you. I was talking to the Lord today, and I was hashing some things out with him. And I was like, Lord, it is so hilarious how you will protect us from a thing and say, don't go into that. Don't do that. You got warnings going on in your spirit and everything. Is like, ooh, I really feel like the Lord's telling us not to do this. And then later on, you're like, wow, I'm so glad I listened because look what happened.
Yeah.
Right? And then at the same time, the same God that protected you from this thing over here that was disaster, that same God leads you into something that will be a disaster. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, because I think we have this idea, a lot of times, I think it's a subconscious thing or an unconscious thing. I don't know what the right conscious word is, but it's like it's like something you do without realizing you're doing it. And I think we without realizing that we do it, even us, we sometimes think that God's going to protect us from everything.
Yeah.
He's going to protect us from this thing happening or that thing happening. And of course, God will protect you, and the angel of the Lord does encamp those who fearfully and wonderfully worship him and all that stuff. But, at the same time, like, God's given you a word and a promise, right? He's given you a destiny. He has a purpose for you being alive. And in order for that promise to be fulfilled or that purpose to be initiated and go on to fulfill your destiny and all that, you've got to go through a thing called training. Mm-hmm. You've got to go through a lot of stuff. You've got to go through a lot of renewing of the mind. You've got to go through a lot of tearing down of strongholds up in here. Mm-hmm. You've got to go through a lot of stuff. You got to go through a lot of maturity, pruning, which is what we've been through this past week. And it's so funny because Kay Nash, I was going to call her Kate Nash. Sorry, Kay. Anyway, Kay Nash came out with that word about pruning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And when we got that word, when she came out with it, I was like, wow, this is what God's been doing with us all week. Yeah. And then God was like, well, we're going to go another week.
Yeah, yeah.
After that, we're gonna clip some really, really big stuff out, and it's just been really good. And it's just all of it is a part of the training. Mm-hmm. And we've used examples like David and Joseph and Abraham, very classic examples of here's the promise. Wow, look what you're gonna have to go through to get to it. But in every case, did they get to it?
Yes, they did.
They did, because they continued to believe. Mm-hmm. And God set them in the glory, and they literally lived in the promise that they were waiting for way longer than all the training and hardship and running from your father-in-law who's trying to kill you and thrown in the prison and the constant waiting, the bareness of womb and the impotency to fulfill the promise and all these things. That was just like, it was a small portion of their life in comparison to this 11:11 again. I literally just saw 11:11. I've been saying it a lot. Crazy. I'm not editing this part out. Thank you. But but it's like, you live, a lot of times these people, they live like 3 times longer in the promise than they do the period of time waiting for the promise. And what's the significance of that? Well, it's because you can't, like Jesus, we were just talking about this before we started. Jesus did not focus on the battle. He did not focus on the issues that he's having with the Pharisees. He did not focus on the issues he was having with his own disciples. He didn't focus on any of that stuff. He focused on the joy that was set before him. Mm-hmm. And then he went through this life as a human being, raising up his disciples, correcting the Pharisees. So I'm saying he had to do the warfare. He had to do the battling. He had to do all of that stuff, but he wasn't focused on it. And I think a lot of times we get focused on the battle, and then we begin to pray, God, attack this part of my life. God, deal with this part of my life. God, this battle and that battle. And that's our focus. Mm-hmm. And then we're constantly, okay, what's the next thing to fight? What's the next thing to fight? And it's like, no. Fix your eyes on the prize, so to speak, And so I wanted to just share a few things in regards to like how God will lead you. He will protect you from a storm and then lead you into a storm. He will, and it's like he will lead you through things that are just hills and valleys, ups and downs, and all. I guess I can kind of generalize the message, honestly. He will just lead you through some stuff, Okay, so we totally forgot to put this in the video that we did, and I just wanted to throw this in there as just like an additional example because I really felt like it was an important aspect of the context of the video in that. Have you ever, I'm sure, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I think a lot of people have heard of people who they've had these heavenly encounters with God, have been taken to heaven, right? Well, then there's other encounters where Jesus himself, he grabs people and he takes them to hell and they experience hell, right? And one of the videos, actually my whole family, we've been watching is by this lady named Sarah Boyanga. And she talks about her experiences that God takes her, heavenly experiences, but it's not all heaven that he takes her through. He takes her to hell and shows her parts of hell and why these people are in hell. And she gets to meet Abraham and other people that she knew on earth and all that. So it's like, here is the Lord leading this person or these other people. And there's many examples that I could give, but a lot of times he will lead them through the paradise of heaven, but also have them experience hell as well. So that kind of adds to the idea that's like, that's who God is. Here, even in our earthly lives, God will lead us through things that are heavenly, but then he will lead us through things that are hellish. And one of the things that Sarah Boyanga, and of course you can always debate and doubt whether it was true or not, but I think it was absolutely true. But one of the things that one of the people she got to meet in heaven was Mary, the mother of Jesus. And Mary came up to Sarah and said, Sarah, now listen, Jesus, he's going to take you through things that sometimes might be unbearable, but it'll all be worth it in the end. And Sarah was like, that really stuck with me because it was like, God will take me through this heavenly stuff and he's going to show me some stuff that will be like hard, but it's like, it'll all benefit. It'll all add to what God is doing and what he wants to reveal in reality and truth and by the Spirit. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that even in heavenly experiences, God will take people through things that are like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. The hellish parts. You don't want to. You want to have a heavenly experience, not a hellish experience. But even in our earthly experience, God will do the same thing. He will take us through things, but as long as he is with us, that's him adding to our lives to prepare us and to give us understanding and insight and to make us, it increases our relationship with him, but it also just makes us more usable in the earth, and it actually impacts our heart and gives us more of a heart of love for God and other people. So it's all an investment. So I just wanted to add that in there. heavenly experience, earthly experience, it doesn't matter. If it's the Lord leading you, it's the Lord leading you. So, okay, back to the regular scheduled program. I guess it was like in March, right? It was in March that we went on this, God was sending us to Indiana, right? And then we made an additional on our way back from all that God had us. I mean, He led us into a difficult place, but He was speaking promise over the difficult place. And then we went on a separate journey to see some friends, right? And it just seemed like it was going to be cool, right? And there was no indication from the Lord of what we were getting ready to go into. None. And it was just like, all right, cool. It was like, so we went there, and from the very moment we arrived, we knew, uh-oh. It was just, overall, it was a really, really, really horrible place. And I'm not trying to badmouth or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, God led us into this situation that turned out to probably be the worst situation we've been through as a family. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Brentwood debacle in April of 2017 was bad, but it was nothing compared to what we went through there.
Yeah.
I mean,
just the warfare and
the warfare was intense.
And
everyone in our family was getting attacked on night one by spiritual things, and they all knew it. And the dreams were terrible. There was no rest. Our son was, how long was it, a week? We were there. He was crying the whole time. Even he, as a baby, knew the kind of demonic, witchcrafty environment that we were in. And I wanted to leave. Now, here's just how you know it was the Lord. You know, I'm ready to fight almost all the time. She's ready to have peace and all that stuff, you know. But in this particular situation, she was ready to just stay, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, what? And I was just like, Lord, what are you doing? And we're just trying to be led by the Spirit as much as we possibly can. And God was like, listen, I want you to stay. I want you to stay here.
Yeah.
And I was like, but they clearly don't want us to be here. I mean, the people who are supposed to be our friends, and it was supposed to be this whole big thing, reunion. Oh yeah, you know, like I had this major expectation, you know, this kind of like, you know, meeting your old buddies from school that you used to hang out with type of thing. And I had this, you know, because we were friends. I mean, there was so much history there. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, they clearly don't want us here. And not only that, but the demonic spirit that's currently being given authority in the situation does not want us here at all. Yeah. I mean, they really don't want us here. And I can go to all kinds of detail, but it's like, it was very obvious. And the attack and the pressure was heavy.
Yeah.
But it's cool because God was just coming in with dreams and revelations and insights and understandings, and it's just like, wow, okay. And the whole time we're just walking through it, having no idea what's going to happen the next day or the next day, having no idea. And the longer we were there, the more the friends that we were supposed to be hanging out with were just separating themselves from us. They didn't want to have anything to do with us. It was really, really bizarre. And I was like, God, they don't want us here. But God, I just felt like the Lord was basically saying, but I want you here. And I'm just like, okay. This is going to be really... I was like, what's going to happen? Is there going to be a break in the relationship where we kind of come together? Well, no, that's not how it happened. In the end, it completely separated. Yeah. It completely broke off in a really, really, really bad way. I mean, really bad. And it was just like, wow. It's the kind of thing that makes your head shake and you go, how is that? How can you possibly do that to us? How could you do that to another family that calls themselves by the name of Christ? And yeah, maybe we might have messed up here or there or whatever. Well, we didn't. But even if all those allegations and accusations and were true, it's like the way you handle it is to put us out, basically. It's like, that's what you're going to do. And it's just like, here we are out on the street in the cold. What was it, for about 15 minutes? Waiting on our Uber to come. He was how old?
He was probably like 7-8 months.
7-8 months. and it was like 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care.
It was snowing.
And they did not care. And it was just like, and I was crushed. So, I started, we're out there and got all our stuff, waiting for Uber to come and pick us up, because it got nasty. And it was funny because that morning I'm praying, and out of my mouth comes, "This is the day that you get exposed. This is the day that you come out," or something, or you get dealt with, or something. I didn't even know what I was saying. I was like, what? What was that? What is that about? What are we talking about? But I kind of knew. I was like, that spirit's getting confronted today. And even in saying that, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. And of course, naturally, I think, well, there's going to be a victory that's going to happen as a result of, that's going to be dealt with, and the spirit is going to come down, and none of that happened. And the spirit didn't go, it did get exposed. It did, this is the day you manifest yourself. That's what it was. It's like, this is the day that you manifest yourself. And sure enough, man, it manifested big time. And it was just, there was foul language involved, not from me or her. It was nasty. There was accusation. It was like spewing nasty, black, oily witchcraft in the spirit, And then we got put out. And I was just like, what in the world? And what in the world just happened? And then so we went on to our Airbnb, and we stayed there for a little while, because God was like, okay, you need a debrief time before you go back to Nashville. You need a debrief time, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we're praying, we're going, what was that about? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But what all of that to say, it was clearly the Lord leading us through it. He led us into it, and he let us out. And I guess I can fast forward my point and say, all the time, God is working his plan and his blueprint and his will and his prophetic word over your life, and you don't even realize it's happening when it's happening. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't look like the way you want it to. Mm-hmm. Hey, you need to go talk to Jesus and say, are you the one that was to come, or did I just not hear correctly, or what? Just go ask him. See, John the Baptist had that issue. It's like, because this isn't happening the way I thought it was going to happen. I'm in prison, bro. Why am I in prison? This doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah. And
so, but God was doing everything that he was planning on doing. And so there's that. And then later on, we realized why we went through it. Later on. You understand what I'm saying? Later on, we realized why we were going through it. But we didn't in the time, and God wasn't revealing why in the time, was he? Mm-hmm. He was not. It was just like, do you trust me? Yes, Lord, we do. All right, well, let's just keep going. It's like, well, what do you want us to do? Well, I just want you to stay here for a little bit. Yeah. Just chill here for a few days.
Yeah.
Don't go back just yet. I'm like, okay, that's how it is to be led by the Spirit. You guys, for some of you who are new, you may not know, but some of you have been with us for a while. You know that there was a corporation that came to us and contacted us and made all kinds of great, wonderful promises and about things that they were going to do and all that stuff. And now you would, and then it turned out to just none of, God eventually was just like, well, this is what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
But he didn't say what he was actually doing till the end.
Yeah.
And it was like, we just knew it was the Lord. We knew that this was the Lord going in. It's like, it's just the Lord. We just knew. I was just like, okay, it's another one of those trust things. When is it not? Yeah. It's another one of those trust things. We're just going to walk this out with this expectation that this is the promise. This is literally what God has promised us. This is it. This is what's happening. Yes. The amount of financial promise that was behind everything that went into this corporation and everything that we're going to be doing. And it was just like, all right, cool. This is the way you want to do it. This is how we'll do it. But then eventually we had to break from the corporation, and God was like, I did everything I needed to do. Okay, it's time to get out. And it's the same thing with the Indianapolis situation. I did everything I need to do. It's time to come out. But God was not telling us in the moment what he was doing and why he was doing it. We thought there's some videos out there on our manifestation story of what we thought was happening. And some of that stuff was happening, but what we thought was going to be happening in the end, and probably would be living in it by now, and all that stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that relationship actually started getting really sour and bad. And I was like, we can't work with you because we just can't.
Yeah.
And look at how
the
you
visions
see us.
were just two completely different things.
Yeah, they were completely different visions, but the relationship itself just began to break down, and it was just like being exposed for what it really was. And I'm just like, and then God was clearly pulling us away.
Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, as clear as Jesus meeting with Moses and Elijah on the mountaintop. And I know I said that in my previous video, but it was that legitimate. It was that real. And I'm just like, okay, you're pulling us away. Okay, cool. Why? Why do we go through that? Why did and all the expectation and hope and heart investment that you put in it, excitement, woohoo!
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was, and especially in that situation, it wasn't, when we were in Indiana, it was like 1 week.
Yeah.
This was an entire summer worth of just praying and investing. But like you said, we knew from the beginning where it was just like, God, okay, he's bringing us into this. And then at the end of this, towards the end, we really could see, God, we made videos about this too, of just, breaking the mold and all of that. And it was just like, wow, this is clearly the Lord. He had to bring us through here, and it was so good what he did. And like during it was like, you might be like, well, why? But honestly, when it is the Lord bringing you through something, and he eventually, like, he's going to show you, he's going to reveal to you
Keep going.
why he's doing the things that he does. You look back at it and you are truly just grateful for how he leads and directs. You don't come out of it upset, and it's just been like,
once you
wow,
understand,
when you understand, exactly what he's doing, and then
you go, wow, God, you really are good.
Yeah.
You're refreshed in that sense of like, oh man, you're awesome.
Yeah.
You knew what you were doing.
Yeah. But like you said, it's like so much of the time, when we've prayed for things or, God is speaking things over our life, he starts to move in ways that you might be thinking, what in the world are you doing, God? Like, this is painful. This is difficult. Mm-hmm. Why are you sending me through this?
And why are you not talking to me about it?
Yeah. But I do think, though, you have to know, it's like God still prepares you for what the screen went blank, so I had to click it.
Click it or tick it.
But it's like, even when God's not fully telling you why you're going into something, he's just leading you that way, and because he really wants you to just trust him. At the same time, he really does he prepares you before you go in advance. And even with the whole thing in Indiana, right before we had left, God was preparing us, really. We kept having these experiences with things were seeming one way, but were something else. Ooh, and it was happening over and over and over again.
And we were having dreams about it and everything.
And it was just like, man, this is just so weird how it's like...
I forgot all about that.
Man, we feel like it's like we even had experience where we went to a place to stay, and online it had seemed a certain way, and we got there and it was just like, man, this just isn't what we thought it was going to be. It totally was fine, but
the pictures were it.
It was not what you thought. It wasn't what you were expecting. And so it's like, really, in a way, God had prepared our hearts for it without necessarily saying, hey, just be prepared that, you're going to go to this, visit people, and it's not going to be what you think it is. But yet our hearts, in a way, were prepared for it. Even on our trip, when we had left here, and we had our first stop in Cincinnati, but when we left, the amount of praying in the Spirit, seriously, we pretty much prayed in the Spirit for like 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
we talked
constant.
and stuff, but
yeah,
it was
we
like
talked,
we
but
were
it was
praying
in the midst
almost
of like
the whole time.
Yeah, we were just praying and praying, and I feel like God Himself, He was like, I'm preparing your spirits for what you are about to go into. I am strengthening you. We really had no idea, but it's like
Lord,
God.
Can't you strengthen us a different way?
But God does that. He brings strength, and He was talking about peace. Oh my gosh, so much of it was just about how to be in a place that's difficult, but have peace and just rest in that, and not necessarily having to fight and go after things. And it was just like, no, just rest in me.
Yeah.
Like, know that you don't always have to fight. A lot of times, He, as far as warring in the spirit, sometimes He's like, that's not what I want you to do, but just know that you are safe with me, and I want you to just stand in that peace. And so it was just, even when God is bringing you into difficult places, we have to remember that He is behind us, He's in front of us, and He's walking with us.
Yeah.
And it's like we are completely surrounded by Him. Yeah. And so no matter where He takes you, whether it's through the dark valley and you've got warfare and spiritual darkness, it's like you are safe in the hands of God. You are safe with Him, and you just need to keep following Him and allow Him to just do the work that He wants to do, knowing that whatever He's doing with you and through you is really for you, and it's for your good. It's adding to you.
Yeah.
It's adding a richness to your relationship with Him.
Yeah.
And so, and really the same thing even with the corporation. I mean, God just held our hearts the whole time. And I can see, I mean, it's just without a shadow of a doubt, like, God led us through that, especially personally for us, to really sow into us just the vision that He has for our life. Yep. And to really solidify some things in our hearts personally. Yep. And He was like, this is the best way for me to have this happen. Yeah. And it was just like, all right, we walked it out with Him, as crazy as it was.
Yeah.
And so it's like, God can be sending you through things like that.
Yeah.
But He's also, like we've been talking about recently, when we pray for certain things in our life to happen, a lot of times God, He is answering our prayers. We just don't recognize it.
He's actually doing it.
Yeah.
And actively, you want to talk about, or you already did actually in our previous, but you can say it again. What do you want to say?
But just that God is always active over His word.
Yes.
He's always watching it. It's that Jeremiah 1:12. It's like He is active. He's involved so in the details of our life. I think last night, it could have been today. My days are all confused, but but we were just talking with our family about just how involved God really is, and we were I don't know, I was just kind of in awe of everything, because God is so good about just doing things so perfectly, because He can be sending you through the difficulty, but that's what it was. I had a vision a while back, and it was just like a picture that came into my head of it was really just kind of like a woman that was dressed, and it was a bride, and I really believe it's the bride of Christ, but she was walking through, and it was basically fire and water. And she was coming out on the other side just purified. And that's the truth. God works with us with fire and water. And like the fire can be, he puts us in places where it's like, whoa, He's melting you down. He's really just like, He's trying to get that dross out. But He also knows it's like, he knows so perfectly when to add the water, when to cool things down. And I just know personally, like during the whole time we were with like the corporation and all of that, at the same time we were going through that, God was also bringing us through this time period where he was like, I'm just giving some gifts to your family.
Yeah.
I'm bringing some things into your life that are just really for your enjoyment. And it was so needed at that time.
See, and that's the paradise part.
Yeah.
That God will just take you through those times where even if you're in the midst of the fire, it's like you're surrounded by fire, but you're in a paradise kind of thing where just, gosh, everything's just popping. I'm praying prayers and there it is. Lord, can this happen or that happen? Sure, here you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, this is amazing. See, this is what the Christian life should be like right here. Yeah. It's like, well, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's not all that life is. It's just getting stuff that you need and want.
Yeah.
You know? But go ahead.
Yeah. And so during that time, you know, we made a video. It was like Christmas in July. We had that where just as a family, we were able to just go and do some things that really brought some like life and joy and into what was really just a very stressful time and all of that. And so it's just like God was just like, hey, I'm bringing both of these things. And then ironically, really what God started then, which had been a long process, but it was like God was starting that whole, for me, with the Christmas in July and all of that it was the beginning of dipping the toe in the oil. And so I just love how complex the Lord really is in that he's like, when I am working and doing things in your life, it is so much more than what you think it is.
Yeah.
It's not just the simple, like, surface level things. I am always working so deep.
Yeah.
And it's just like how he can just bring things together. You just stand back and it's just, you're completely in awe. And I really was in that place last night of just, I was just like, God, I am just so in awe and thankful for everything that you've been doing.
Oh, man.
And it's just like,
yeah.
What more can I say, you know? Because it's when you can really see what he's been doing, and we've been recently just really talking about a lot of the journey that God has had us on. And this in particular, and realizing, wow, God, you really started this movement that you have us on back in January of 2013.
Yeah, see, and we're thinking, oh, we're starting a new thing. We're doing a new thing. God's doing a new thing. Oh, he did move us to Nashville. All right. And you think page 1. Yeah. And God's like, no, buddy, you're at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Oh, we're at the end. Okay, cool. And then like a whole year goes by.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I thought you said we were at the end. He was like, you are at the end. If you're counting it from January 2013. Yeah. You know, it's like, wow. And then you realize that's go ahead.
No.
You were going to, well, when you think about that's when we started, God began to move us to say, hey, I want you to move to Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And it was like when we left Indiana and then we came to Kansas City, that was like another touchdown point for us. It's like the eagle has landed. But then that's when you got that vision of this little tiny shoot coming up out of the ground. And then, but when God was like, I'm going to scoop you up and plant you in your land. By that time, 4.5 years later, we were like this huge tree, so huge we couldn't even fit in the cave that we were in. And God was like, surely enough, he scooped us up and brought us here.
And we're still been carried. Like, wow. We've just been carried by the Lord.
Yeah, we haven't been planted.
We haven't been planted yet.
But that's okay. And it's just like God's time frame and how he works things out is just so different. But it's like literally you're in the midst of a prophetic word being fulfilled over your life and you don't even realize it. A lot of times you don't. A lot of times we don't realize it, that it's happening. You know, Jesus washed his disciples' feet and he just flat out told them, listen, you're not going to understand what I'm doing right now, but you will later. And that's like God's word to us a lot of times. You don't understand what I'm doing now, but you will later. And again, it kind of goes back to that, don't focus on the warfare, because the warfare makes you want to think like you do have to war. You have to war, you know, with these prophetic words, you know, wage your spiritual warfare. Absolutely. But it's, what are you warring for? You're warring for that which is set before you. The destiny and purpose of God in your life that is set before you. But what we can find comfort in is that God knows what he's doing. It's like Jesus, when he was washing the disciples' feet, they might not have known what they were doing, what he was doing, but he knew.
Yeah.
He knew the impact of what he was working in their lives. So it's like all of this to say, like, every single thing that God does is investment into your purpose. You know, like, you know, classic example, you know, because I mean, we've talked about some stormy parts and we've talked about some paradise type of parts, you know, and there's a lot more examples we can give on both sides, but it's like God's like, he invests in our lives. Like, everything he does is an investment. That's just overwhelming thought for me right now. But, you know, you look at the life of Joseph and David. They had to believe. David said, had I not believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of living, I would have completely despaired of all life. That means there were times where he was going through some stuff that he just felt like, why am I even alive?
Yeah.
What's the point? But the great thing about that is that they did go through that. Joseph did get betrayed by his brothers. He did get sold into slavery. He did get accused unjustly of something he didn't even do. You know, and it's just all of those things happened, but he didn't focus on the warfare of it all. He kept his eyes focused on what God was doing in his life, as was David in Abraham's case and Daniel and every other man and woman of faith. They were focused on him who was able to keep the promise, and they got to the promise.
Yeah.
The word of the Lord was fulfilled over David's life and Joseph's life and Abraham's life. It was fulfilled. But every single thing that he did along the way was to prepare them for it.
Yeah.
And it was not comfortable. It was not easy. There were some like paradise mountaintop moments, but a lot of them were valley, hardcore, intense moments. You know? And so I guess all we want you to know from this video is that every single day of your life that you just continue to go after the Lord and say yes is an investment into the very thing that he is, that his very purpose for your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and yesterday
there is no day lost.
There isn't.
You know? There just isn't.
Back when...
Gotta get my leg pressed.
When we were... really, I think, going into the more intense part of this journey, God really was speaking to us and said, I want you to enjoy this time.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll never have another time like this.
Yeah.
And really until, I think it was last night, it had always been something where there was kind of, in a way, like grief with it, because it was always like, man, so I guess if we don't have another time like this one, like, what does that mean? Like, what's going to change? Like, hopefully, you know, because it's been a really great time where God's just been really investing. We've had a lot of time to just invest into the Lord and have him invest into us. But like I said, it's also been very, very difficult. There's been a lot of just heartache and God really just doing a deep work in the hearts, as many of you know. And last night, though, for the first time, I really looked at it and I was saying, you know what? I I really think when God said, enjoy this time because you'll never have another time like it, was really he was trying to encourage us in that, man, this is going to be difficult, but I want you to enjoy this time because trust me, you're never going to have to go through this again.
Yeah.
You're never going to have a time like this again. So just enjoy it. Get everything you can out of this time. And it's very much like the James chapter 1 where it's talking about consider it all joy, my brother, when you face trials of any kind. It's like that wow, you can know that even though you've got all these trials and tribulations, that you can actually have the heart of, wow, we are going to consider this with great joy and thankfulness in our hearts because we know that it's going to produce really great fruit.
Yeah.
And that's really James chapter 1. You can go and read that. That's really what God was talking about there. He's like, enjoy this time.
Yeah.
And so I just was looking at that last night and thinking, wow, yes, that's really what God was saying. He was trying to give us just that perspective, the perspective of, hey, I know this is going to be difficult, but let's go through this as best that we can and enjoy as much of the process as we can, knowing what is ahead, knowing what's coming next. Just like Jesus, it said, for the joy that was set before him. You know, it's like he endured through the cross. He went through all of that. It's the same way as God saying, hey, enjoy this time, even though it's difficult because you know what is on the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's like Joseph. God could say the same thing to Joseph. Like, Joseph, I know what you're going through, buddy, but enjoy this time because you're never coming back here again.
Yeah.
You're not going to come back here again. It's not going to happen. You know? And so, so it's like everything. It's like, it may be difficult. You know what? I just really feel like the Lord's saying this, like, and there's more to it, I'm sure, because I can sense that there's more to it than what I'm going to say. But I almost feel like the Lord's saying, like, I am honoring you by putting you through what I'm putting you through. I am honoring you. I'm giving you the first choice. I'm giving you the opportunity to be a part. I'm giving you you said yes, so I said yes. So now I'm going to take you through the training that the master takes. It's like you have, like, say, you watch, like, I used to watch a lot of martial arts films, and you've got the grand master, but then you've got all of his, like, his 12 elders or something like that. And, the grand master might pick your trainer, and, you go and you get the trainer, and then you learn a lot from that trainer because that trainer's been trained by the grand master. But then there's that one student that comes and he's just like, I want to be trained by the Grand Master. And they're like, no you don't. Trust me, bro. Just let me do it. I will be nicer to you when I give you the hardship. I will be nicer to you when I'm whacking your knees with bamboo rods. You do not want to be trained by the Grand Master. And then the guy's like, actually I do. I don't care. I know that you guys have been trained by him, so I want to be trained by him. And they're just like, okie dokie, if you want to. And then the Grand Master of the movie or whatever, I'm totally just making this up in my mind, but he just says, okay, come on. And he's like, yes, I'm going to get trained by the Grand Master. This is amazing. And then he suffers hugely. He suffers greatly. And he just, to the point where he was like, I don't even know if I should live anymore. Because I don't even know if this is worth it. I am in so much pain. The Grand Master, I'm so confused. Is he trying to just kill me or something? And then you realize, you get to every story gets to that breaking point of revelation where the character realizes, like, hey, I am training you for what you're going to face. Yeah. You want to be trained by me? I was honored that you asked for me personally. I was honored that you wanted to, you didn't care what, you counted the cost and you said, I will pay it. And so I gave you what you asked for. I'm giving you what you've been praying for. And it's like, and it's preparing you for what you're going to face. So it's like, because your enemy is going to want to kill you.
Yeah.
So it's like, in that kind of, movie type of story setting that I'm coming up with, it's like the Grandmaster would want to come at you in the same level of intensity that the enemy's going to come at you. He's not going to come at you all nice and easy like the trainers might. The Grandmaster is like, no, I'm going to come at you hard, like hardcore. I remember I was watching this, don't get political now, but I was watching this thing about Donald Trump and how he raised his son up. And he was like, I wasn't going to just give him the seat at the table. I was like, you want to work with me, son? Okay, cool. Here's a mop and a bucket. There's the bathrooms. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's the way I trained him. And I was like, he had to know, Donald Trump was like, he had to know every single aspect of that business and what people go through. You have to have a heart for what the janitors go through so you don't look down on them, you don't treat them wrong. Mm-hmm. You got to know what it's like to be the accountant. You got to know what it's like to be the go-to guy. Go get me some coffee. You got to know all of that. Yeah. It's like, if you don't know all of that, you cannot, I don't care if you're my son or not, you cannot run this business and run it well with integrity. You can't. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some sort of little something in there that maybe will slip in, and pride will get in there, and you'll ruin it, is what you'll do. Mm-hmm. It's like, because he understood a little something about how businesses really work and what causes them to rise and sustain and what causes them to fall and all that stuff. And, the Lord is the same way. He's like that Grandmaster. It's like, oh, you want to be trained by me personally? Yes, because Pastor so-and-so is not good enough. Mm-hmm. He just isn't. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He just isn't. It's like, I want to be trained by you, Lord. I want to follow you and you only. All these songs that we be singing in church and all that, I actually mean that stuff. Like, you really are my all in all. You really are my only hope. I'm going to follow after you all the days of my... I really mean that. So I'm just here I am. I'm going to keep following. I'm like Elisha following Elijah. Here, just stay here. Stay here at this nice church. And, they'll take care of you. Nope, sorry, I'm going wherever you're going. All right, well, come on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, here, why don't you stay here in this place right here, in this nice little area? It's nice. It's a nice little oasis. You have some fun. Nope, I'm going wherever you're going. Are you going to be here? Well, no, I got to go somewhere else. Well, that's where I'm going. Well, it's a bad neighborhood. Well, come on, let's go then. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you just got to have that heart. And it's like, God's like saying, I honor those who honor me. If you really want to come after me, then I will come after you. But God's going to do in your heart everything that he knows needs to be done. Yeah. Everything he knows must take place in order for you to get the promise or the blessing or the whatever. Because he knows if he doesn't do a thorough work, that's been a theme. Yes. If he doesn't do a thorough work, it's not going to sustain. Yeah. And so we give the Lord praise and honor and glory every single day, because it's like, wow, everything he is doing, everything he is taking you through is adding and investing in you becoming what you're supposed to become. That's why the Holy Spirit encourages us. Don't look, turn away from everything that will distract, because warfare for the promise can be actually distracting. Yeah. It's like, remember what you're warring for. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Remember who is with you and why you're doing what you're doing. Why are we in this situation? We could be living different lives. We totally could be living different lives. But God's like, no, I want you to, here, why don't you come here? You want to come this far? It's always an invitation. Yeah. Let's go here. Let's do this. Okay, fine, let's do it. And it's like, it's just so unorthodox and weird. But the bottom line is, we're saying yes every day. And now we've got to the place where God's just saying, hey, everything I do is an investment in getting you the desires of your heart, and leading you into the place of blessing, leading you into that garden place of just constant intimacy with God, and deeper, deeper, deeper intimacy. Mm-hmm. And just seeing to be honored by the Lord is something that's not actually done often. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because a lot of times there's very few people who will go through everything he wants them to go through to get to that place of authority and honor seated at the table of promise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, I'm just, reminded of, like, the Marines. They have...
Exactly.
Like, it's like if you want to become a Marine, you have to go through just
so
much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is, one of their slogans is the few, the proud, the Marines. You know, it's very few people that go through that sort of level of intense training.
Or like to become a Navy
SEAL.
SEAL.
Or any of those, like, elite. You can think any elite fill in the blank, whether it's an Olympian or a Marine or
an elite like shooter. Remember we used to watch that History Channel, that shooting thing? Who could be a great marksman? It's like if you're going to be at elite level.
And anybody who is considered elite in whatever they do, it's like, man, they've been through a lot to get to where they are. And so it's like, like you say, like God, he's like, oh, you want to be on the elite team? You want to have that? You want that? You desire me in that way? Okay, I am going to give that to you.
You want the sold out relationship with me? Yes, I do. Okay.
All right, now I'm going to start moving you in that direction. I'm going to answer your prayers. And I think that's where we do tend to get tripped up, because we start seeing God move, and it's like, I saw this going differently in my mind. I mean, I thought you were just going to, I wanted to be honored, and I wanted to see all this, and, heaven open up before me, and,
I thought we were going straight to paradise. What's this storm stuff?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
But it's like, God's like, no, every day I'm adding to you, and that way, when I do pour out myself upon you, you can carry it, you can contain it, and I'm expanding you. I am doing so much that you don't even know. That's been something God's really been talking to us about. It's like, you have no idea truly what I'm doing here. And it's like...
what's coming, what he has in store.
Yeah, what he has in store, and just what he's preparing his people for. And it's not just for our family. It's like, I feel like just the body of Christ as a whole, like what he has been doing in the body and what he is preparing his bride for is so significant. And it's like, he's just like, yes, and I want my bride to see. I want my bride to rejoice over the work that I've already done and the work I'm continuing to do as I move forward. Because it's like, if we can truly just grasp that every single day is another day that God is preparing us, is investing into us and our relationship with him, I think it makes it a lot easier when God's like, okay, now I'm going to move, or I'm going to change, and being able to truly just move with his spirit, because we just trust that no matter where he's moving us, it's actually just adding to us. It's strengthening us. Lana Vosser just came out with a word about the strengthening of the Lord. And, and how, like, he really is, like, he is strengthening his people. And he's doing that as we're able to just trust him. And when he starts moving and moving here and there, and it just builds up the strength in the spirit of just, because he can add to us and all things that he does. And he's like, he is going to have his people strengthened. And she even said, I think in the word, about how it's like things might come out of left field and you're like, what? Where's this coming from? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, if we can just take it and be like, all right, Lord, we know we can have joy and say, yes, this is going to produce the fruit that you want in our lives. And we can truly just rejoice over what God is doing and how he is working and moving, even when we don't understand everything.
Yeah.
I just think it will really just add so much to our relationship with God, and just really even change our hearts in the situation.
Yeah.
Because you can really consider it joy and be able to walk in that newness with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all that we have for you guys today. And so before we go...
Isn't it enough?
Yeah, I know, it is enough. I just want to pray for you guys before we go. And so, God, we just come before you. I pray right now, Lord, that you would just open our eyes to see clearly how you have been working in each of our individual lives, God. That we would look back and you would just let your work, your weaving work that you have done, just be bright before our eyes, and that we would truly see, wow, this is what God has been doing. This is what you have been crafting in my life. This is your handiwork. I never saw it before, but now I see it so clearly. So, Lord, I just pray that you would give your people eyes to see the work that you are doing in their life, that they would be able to rejoice, that there would just be a fullness of joy in the work that you are doing, even in the hard places, even in the painful places, and the valleys that you lead us into and you lead us through and out of. Yeah. And so, Father, I just ask for that, Lord, more than anything, that we would see clearly the work that you have done and the work that you are continue to do in our hearts and our lives, and that we would rejoice. And I pray just for the strengthening of the body of Christ, Lord. I'm praying that, Lord, we pray that that she would be, it said, Lord, your bride, that she would be clothed with strength and dignity. Yeah. And so we just pray for that, Lord. And I just ask that you would release upon your people just your spirit of great peace, Lord. Yes. And just a heart that is full of awe and wonder of who you are. I pray that you would just bring back to life in the hearts of your bride just this awe of who you are, and just that there would be just hearts that are just completely turned towards you, completely just in love with you and devoted to you, and hearts that are full of trust and are able to just move with your spirit, to just go with you and allow you to lead, and that as they do that, Lord, there would just be great joy that is set before them and just so much added. Lord, I just feel like you are bringing us into a season where you're going to just be adding to your people, where you're going to be packing up your people with just great treasures from your heart. And I believe that, Lord, it is both physical and spiritual treasures, Lord, that you are going to be packing your people up, that you're going to be fattening your bride, Lord. You are saying, I am coming to just endow you, to give you riches. I'm coming to fill your hearts with just great treasure, and just let me lead. Let me continue to bring you forward. And as I do that, I'm just going to be adding to you. And you're going to come to a place where you're just going to see, wow, Lord, you are so good and so gracious and so kind. And you have fulfilled the desires of my heart. And I'm so glad that I am leaning on my beloved. And I'm so glad that I have clung to you and that you are my everything. And so, Lord, I just thank you for that word, that you are bringing us into a season of adding great and mighty things to our lives. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
So,
well, that's awesome.
So, guys, until next time, we will see you later.
Yes, love you guys and appreciate all the comments. We do read them.
Yeah.
We may not heart them or respond. That's a whole other story. But we do read them. We appreciate them. It's just been awesome.
Yeah.
To see what God is doing and continuing to do. And just, man, we got some stuff that we could share that would blow your minds. But until then, just click the PayPal link below and we'll see you tomorrow.
You're hilarious.
It may not be tomorrow. Anyway, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I think I need to eat.
Yeah,
I get a little tired when I get hungry, and then I eat something. I go, hey, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of like hungry tired, you know.
Yep. So until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.